Hey, hey, hey. Hello, everybody. We're so happy to be here today. I am Chanel Monique. I am an author. Hey, I got the book done. And I am a worship leader at Walk in the Spirit Ministries. I am my mom today of a 19-year-old. I am a child of God, and I am so very happy to be here with my sisters. And I'll begin with who am I pointing to? Coach Shay.
Me. Oh, you got it right. I was like, which way is it going? What's up, everyone? I am Shay Owen, certified life relationship business coach, mother, entrepreneur of multiple businesses. I think I already said wife, but let me say that again so that way I don't get in trouble for not saying it. Definitely within the ministry, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm turning it over to my sister. Are you that way?
I am that way.
You got it right.
I am pastor, prophet, coach Nakia Shipman. I am the body life pastor of Walk in the Spirit Ministries. I am a mom, wife. I'm a lot of stuff. But most importantly, I'm super excited about having this conversation with you guys tonight. So we are here tonight to share, have some really good conversation. And tonight we would love some feedback. So make sure that you join in, comment, have conversation. So that way we can kind of like answer some of your questions, and maybe you guys can help us answer some of our questions.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Chanel, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about relationship deal breakers. OMG, this is such a juicy topic and let me just say, when my deal breakers used to be, that's a different list today. It was way longer before, but I have learned how to love right, so it's not as long. Now, I might have some struggles with some things, but I'm a better person today.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
for instance, when I was younger, a relationship deal breaker was if you said something stupid, I cut you off. If you just said something stupid, like I had zero tolerance for stupid stuff. Stupid. So, but I'm a better person today. I now know how to love, right? Beyond that, because I realize I say some questionable stuff. You know what I mean? And so that's what, I have kind of learned to consider myself before I just start. You know what I mean? What y'all think?
I mean, for me, I know my relationship deal breakers have definitely changed, and I think that the most powerful thing that's changed in this season of my life, in my marriage, is the fact that I understand the covenant that I have. Sometimes I need a little reminder. I need a little kick in the butt from my sisters, but my hair to look like that, Nikki. She's like, yep. But I do understand that it's bigger than just myself. Before, when I was so easily to leave out of the marriage or leave out of the relationship, I understand that now it's bigger than just what I want and in my feelings and in my emotions. So my relationship deal breakers have definitely changed, but I stand firm on those deal breakers. Like, I'm like, if I end up, for me, like being cheated on is my numero uno deal breaker. I don't care if it's emotionally, physically, whatever way. If you can't do it in front of me, I feel like, you've opened up that door. And so for me, I'm very quick. So that's it. There's no conversation about it. Because it's also about a respect thing for me versus before a deal. This is horrible. And I'm still working on this one, but a deal breaker for me, like if you smacked your food, back in the, I can't stand someone who smacks their food. And so it literally would just drive me crazy, especially if we were just dating. That would probably be like a one and done date to go out. Like, I had this, like Chanel said, like the dumbest deal breakers ever. So my deal breakers have definitely completely changed. Or if they had like a mole sticking outside of their neck with like little hairs coming out.
Oh, you know what? Now listen, that's still a deal breaker. That's a no.
I remember I hope he's not watching. Jesus. I had to walk down the aisle when my mother got married years ago. And I remember I was dating this guy and I wanted to walk down the aisle, you know, him to be my person I was walking down the aisle with. Well, that didn't happen. And this guy literally had like a huge like mole and had like little hairs, you know, just coming out of it. So I made up in my mind in that second that was going to be a deal breaker, but clearly that's not, you know, things happen. So that's no longer a deal breaker. Key, what are your deal breakers?
So I feel kind of bad, guys. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Crystal. Hey, guys at home. I feel kind of bad because my deal breaker hasn't changed. You know, and everybody else has matured and I haven't. Lying for me is a deal breaker. I can tolerate everything except lying. Like, you know, cheating, we can walk through, we can go to counseling, smacking, we can work through that. You know, I can go get some earplugs, you know. But lying for me is such a trigger. It's not just in marriage, it's in every single relationship. Hey, Victoria. It's in every relationship, though. Like, I'm talking about friendship, kids. Every person in the universe knows that for me, lying is like you cut off because I feel like I'm so understanding that you don't have to lie to me. Like, let's be honest with each other. That way I know what I'm dealing with. Allow me to choose, you know, if I'm going to stick it out, stay, whatever, but give me that option. But other than that, like, I don't, you know, I can work through some really grimy stuff, but lying is just like,
but
I gotta go.
Kind of go hand in hand because if they're lying,
well, not necessarily though, right? Because sometimes, like cheating, you don't you didn't necessarily lie, right? So if my husband leaves and happen to fall in, you know, he meet a woman, he ain't necessarily lied to me yet, right? But if I get a sense and I feel it, and I'm like, so were you with somebody? And he say no, now that's a lie, right? But if I didn't sense it, didn't feel it, I haven't asked him any questions, he ain't did necessarily to lie. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think cheating I can forgive, and I don't know if it's because I'm a product of an environment of cheating. Like my dad was a habitual cheater. You know, that's just what he did, and I saw it as a girl, so I didn't feel like that meant that they don't love you. I never thought that, so that wasn't a thing for me. Like that doesn't mean that you don't love me. That just meant that you had a need that I wasn't meeting at that time. That's just how my logical brain conceives it. Lying though says that you don't trust me with your truth. That means I'm not safe with you, and that's a problem.
Oh my.
That's deep. That's deep. That's real though. That's so real.
Could you tell me that one more time? If I can't trust you, wait. What you say?
I'm saying if you lie to me, that means you don't trust me with your truth, which says I'm not safe with you. You know, that means that you don't trust me to give me all of who you are or share all of who you are. So I'm not safe. That means that we're going to live in a foggy world that says you're just doing what's conducive for me in front of me, but then you hide what really is you, the truth.
Ooh. And you said that's your deal breaker.
It's my get out of my house, or I'm packing up. You at work and I done left everything and you don't even know I'm gone. Absolutely. And so, but again, it's my deal breaker, right? You know what I'm saying? And I don't put that on other people because I understand that we are all different. Like, you know, when Shay mentioned cheating, that's her thing. I'm not going to be like, girl, you need to stay with him because I would stay. No, my deal breaker ain't cheating. So if you leave, that's your deal breaker. You leave. God bless your deal breaker. Mine, though, for me, and I think it just goes back to like childhood and relationship, being safe, though, like give me the opportunity to know that I can choose what I'm connected to, choose what I'm a part of. I think for me, like lying, when somebody come and say, girl, you know, this happened, and you like, they lied to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's totally different.
Yeah. I think also like our
Wait. So Lisa Lyric says, wow, so her interpretation of cheating meant the other person wasn't meeting a need. Maybe not necessarily a need. It could be a want. I'm saying if you step out, there's a reason that you step out. I mean, as a full grown woman, I understand that I didn't step out because I didn't want or need something.
People are just selfish. You know, I was actually having a conversation with somebody earlier about that whole cheating thing. To me, it's like you don't respect me and I can't trust you. And it goes back to that whole thing. Like, I need to be able to trust what you say, trust how you're doing things, trust how you're moving. Because some people, you know, if you, like he said, it's a huge trust factor.
Yeah.
When somebody is close in that tight circle. We have some comments here. Let's go into this. Victoria said, yes, give me the space to choose if I want you in my face in any relationship. That part right there.
That part.
And Lisa says, cheating is lying, whether it's verbal or not. It is a form of deception. So deception and lying, yeah, I can look at it as going, hand in hand. But like he said, for her,
so if I say to my husband, where were you? And he said I was at the church and he was with a woman, that's a lie, right? But if I've never asked and we never had the conversation, then how do I call it a lie? Because a lie, even by definition, is anything said and or done with the intent to deceive. So the difference is me and my husband have an open and honest relationship. So I'm like, was you looking at her butt? He's gonna say, yeah.
Let's clarify. They don't have an open relationship.
I said open, honest. I said open and honest, like where we communicate. I was specific, not open like he can do what he want to do. I'm saying where we talk to one another. So in talking, if you cheat, I don't know. I'm not going to quantify it as a lie without us having conversation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you do it and you come home and say, hey, honey, I cheated, then where was the lie?
Right. We're not saying cheating isn't wrong.
I'm not saying it's right. That's not what I'm saying.
But it's not a lie if I didn't ask no questions. If you didn't tell me that you was going to do one thing and I did something else, now that's a lie. But
so she said the cheater is living the lie. She said the cheater is living a lie. But what if he only did it one time, never went back, never had a conversation? But again, that's why it's everybody has their own deal breakers. Deal breakers. Right? So the person who has a deal breaker of cheating, that's your deal breaker. I'm not knocking it. I'm not making cheating okay or acceptable at all. I do believe that cheating and lying are different. But again, what we're talking about here is our own deal breakers. What we can do is and this is why I normally write semantics. What we normally do is and this is why people don't share with their friends their real truth or their real life, because now it's like you're judged. So because I said cheating is not my deal breaker.
Look at that, see?
So now, because I'm not leaving for cheating, now it's like, so wow, she thinks it's because they have a need. We can all debate semantics. We can all debate what it is. But my deal breaker, Nakia's deal breaker, is lying. Cheating is not my thing. That's not the thing that I'm going to walk away. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've stayed with the husband who was a cheater. Okay. We're divorced now, but I didn't leave him because he was cheating. My thing was everything else was wrong. So we all have our own deal breakers, and that's why they're ours. So that's the whole purpose of this. Because just because you define cheating in a way that says it's harmful and it's not good does not mean that that's my story. We're not in a relationship together.
Right.
And just because cheating for you is a bad thing doesn't mean it's a bad thing for me.
Right. I mean, it is deception, and of course they would be hurt behind it. But like she's saying, it's just not that thing that's going to cause her to walk away. Like also for me, because I come from domestic abuse, right? I have certain triggers with domestic abuse. So for me, if you put your hands on me or emotionally, you are tearing me. Oh, we got Ray up in the car. Hey, Ray. He wasn't supposed to be in there. I don't know how
he was. He got something he wanted to say.
Come on.
Bringing me in here.
Keep it classy. Come on.
Well, it's great to be here at Keeping It Classy.
Yes, Apostle Ray Shipman is here.
Yes, Apostle.
One of the things that I think a lot of people have to understand is that what works for your family and your house is not necessarily going to work for everybody else's. And a deal breaker for one person is not necessarily a deal breaker for the other person. You may be adamant. Hey, Crystal, Jerry, you may be adamant about your specific deal breakers and not be able to understand how somebody else's deal breaker is not the same. Well, that's because they're not you.
Right.
It's really as simple as that. Contrary to popular belief, fried chicken is not my favorite thing. As a matter of fact, I'm growing out of not just fried chicken, but chicken with bones. It's really starting to annoy me. I don't know why, but it is. but that's not a bad thing. That is my preference. That is what I like, or that is what I dislike, and that is what I'm able to deal with. Everybody else in our relationships, we've got to get to a place where we understand that's their relationship. Don't yuck my yum. So if we like to go on vacation, lay in the bed and watch, what have we been watching?
The have and the
Have and the have now, sleep, eat, and keep going back to watch it. That's our thing. Don't get mad at us because we're not going on roller coasters and we're not doing. It's literally the same thing.
It's your own personal preference. It's like,
Absolutely.
but do you think that people should have deal breakers going into relationships?
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
some people are just willy-nilly and they just are like, let me see what happens with this, because that person is not the last person, and all of that other stuff. But I do think I'm in agreement with you. I think that boundaries. Okay, so let me ask you, deal breakers and boundaries, do you think that they're one and the same?
They are not.
If not, how are they different?
Boundaries are the things that boundaries can be moved. And this is like, as we grow older, as we grow in our relationship, we'll even stretch our boundaries. Listen, I don't like sharing my life with a lot of people. I don't like a lot of people in my house. I don't like, so those are my boundaries. Even when there are people at our house, we are usually downstairs in the basement. So we don't know what's happening upstairs. Those are my boundaries. If you're coming into my room, then I need you to knock, say something, acknowledge your presence, something. Those are my personal boundaries. When it comes to interaction with my wife or with me, I have my own personal boundaries.
Right.
A deal breaker will be, you did
walk out that door.
I don't want anything else to do with you.
Right.
That's it. My ability to forgive you has nothing to do with my deal breaker.
Right.
I can forgive you, but you've broken the covenant that we had established. That's what that is. If you're entering into a covenant, i.e. a relationship or a marriage, and you don't know what that thing is that will break the marriage or the covenant or the contract that you've made with each other, it's going to be broken because you don't even know what it is. And when it happens,
I also think it's important to discuss those things, like as they change, as you grow or as you mature, or as certain things happen and you realize, okay, I'm going to extend you grace because I didn't let you know, but I really don't like that. And if it happens again, then I can be out the door. So your deal breakers can actually change.
They can, but it's probably going to be rare, because if your deal breaker is easily changed, then that's probably a boundary, not a deal breaker. A deal breaker is exactly that. You have broken the deal.
Yes.
That's it. Yes. The agreement that we made, you broke it. This was the deal that we made. Yeah. So now either we come up with a whole new deal, or the contract is null and void. We're good.
Right.
May the Lord watch between me and thee.
While we're absent one from another.
But that's all. Can I go now?
Yep.
Sure.
Blessings.
It's like hilarious.
But no, so I think one of the things, because like what he just brought up though, is like, for me, I think sometimes when people show you who they are, for me it's just a wrap. Like it's no further discussion needed. You know what I'm saying? It's part of your character. If your character don't connect to me, then I'm good. And I don't know. Maybe the Holy Ghost needs to change that for me, but I just literally, like, I am who I am consistently. I try to make sure that I give me consistently to everybody. Like, I don't change. I'm not going to be okay today and not tomorrow. Like, I try to be my authentic self with every person in every relationship. And so that means that if something in your character doesn't settle with me, not necessarily that it's a bad thing. It's just, it's not for me. Like you said, don't yuck my yum. I'm not yucking your yum. We just don't connect, and God bless you.
Right. No, thank you for watching, Betty. We appreciate that.
I know
hey,
that.
Betty.
Hey, Betty. Hey to everybody. My cousin is even over here, the niece. Hi, niecey. Love you. So I know that I have broken people's deals. You know what I mean? I always go back to my past because you know what? I used to be, I'm going to throw that word out here. I used to be a butthole, right? So I used to be that person that said whatever that was on my mind. I'll never forget. I went to a church and we were in rehearsal. And I remember, so in my heart, this is so funny, because in my heart, I really didn't mean harm, but my words, they were harmful. And although I just said flat out how I felt, and I know it's gonna sound contradictory when I say it, I really didn't mean it in a way like as in you disgust me or nothing like that. But someone had came to rehearsal and their armpits was horrible. And so, and it's like later on in the day, you have had enough time to go home and freshen up if you need to, all kind of stuff. And so what I did was I was like, who is that? And I was like, who is smelling like that? You know what I mean? And all the while, what I didn't realize was people were like literally holding this one lady back because she was about to fight me because the person who it was her best friend. And I'm like, that just don't make sense. We got to do better. We had all this time. We're not that busy. Like if we had all this time in between work and coming here, we could have really literally gone and just washed our armpits. I mean, we got to do better, right? But so I know that at first that was a deal breaker for them because this is like, I consider church as family because I have not had, like my natural family close for a very long time. And so, these are people that I love, but my words, I was flat out. So I didn't have a people, like until they got to know me. And when they got to know me and when they told me what I did and how I came across, like it broke me. So I was like, okay, listen. So
so they had a problem with the fact that you said they were musty or that you were appalled because your smell, like ain't nothing nice about that. So at the end of the day, you were harming me too.
No, but I did not have to do that like that. So, in the way I went about it and the person that I was
it didn't take you by surprise. You weren't taken by surprise because I'm telling you, when I get that whiff, I smell myself first and I look around like, so who funky? It's not a positive way to say that. Maybe I need to interject that at the same time because that's definitely I'm not gonna say that's a deal breaker because if you stink, I'm not entertaining you. It's not about a deal breaker. Like musty, any of it. Body odor is a problem for me. It is huge. I don't care where we are. We could be in the middle of a service and I'm going, ma'am, you're smelling really bad. Ain't no nice way to say it.
No,
it don't smell nice.
But you know what happened as a result of that though? As a result of that, people left the church.
Oh,
they didn't want to. They didn't. You know what I mean? That's so, bad. Like, I felt like so bad behind that because from that experience that they had with me, they looked at everything through the lens of that one experience. So, because like back in the day, we used to say, smell the mics because when people would preach and stuff like that, all that stuff is in the mic and it would smell funny. And so when I would say that, they thought that I was dogging them about their breath. That's not. And it wasn't that.
Just acknowledging like who smelled like that. Why would? That's people just be wanting reasons. I'm not gonna get that.
Let me say I chose violence. I was flat out. It wasn't no love in it. I didn't like try to figure out who it was, because if I had taken the time to do that, I really could have pulled them aside. It wasn't no love. There was no love in it. It was child who was smelling like that. That don't make no sense. We all grown. This don't make sense. Why is we grown and funky?
Okay,
but so that was not my environment though.
Are you saying that was your deal breaker?
My deal breaker? No, I was somebody's deal breaker. How I came across, what I mean? Like my candid, my flat out, like that can be somebody's deal breaker.
Maybe it wasn't necessarily a deal breaker, but maybe you just hurt their feelings, and so that's a little bit different too. We have to not become so confused. They told you that was like a deal breaker for somebody telling they was musty.
The person who was funky, I ended up being close to. But it was the people that were around that was like, oh no, I can't do her. Deal breaker. They left.
So again, I'm just thinking maybe their feelings, like they didn't like the way you delivered what was said.
But they weren't funky though. The person who was funky, we were fine. I mean, let me stop.
Victoria,
let's move on from here. I feel like this is not going in the right direction. Victoria, let me just say what my deal breaker is. Let me just say what my deal breaker is. My deal breaker is, funny enough, oddly enough, is that do not talk to me any kind of way. So as a person who has gone through verbal abuse and things like that, do not speak to me in a condescending manner. Don't make me look like, you know what I'm saying, I'm the special need kids. You know what I'm saying? I love the special needs kids. I really am a special need kid. Let me just put that out there. But don't treat me like I just like am at the bottom of the barrel of the earth. You know what I mean? Don't treat me like I don't have my faculties. I do. And so don't talk to me condescending, and don't talk to me. Those are deal breakers for me. Last deal breaker for me: do not try to hinder me from doing what God wants me to do. I love God. Don't try to come in between that. Don't try to make me look at him different. Don't try to sell me to your God. Nope. I got my own relationship. Those are deal breakers for me.
So when someone breaks, does something that you don't like, your deal breaker, let's say that they didn't know that, do you address it with them first?
Yeah,
or
I
because
address it
everybody
first.
doesn't, Key has made it very known she hates liars. But I think that the moment you meet her, that's not the very first thing that's coming out of her mouth, right? So, well,
It just about is. So the reality is though, like I don't hate liars, because I don't hate anything, right? Liars just are a deal breaker for me because I can't trust you, and that means I'm not safe. But to people that are going to be in my life, it is. That's like my first line. To if you are here to stay,
right.
I don't do lying, and I do that so that way you are aware of what my boundary is, of what I need from you, what I expect from you. That way there is no misconception. I don't do a second conversation though. I don't, and I don't think it's necessary. I believe that if we went in relationship and I said, hey, lying does not work for me. I can take the truth. I will work with you. I will work through it with you, but lying does not work. When you lie, I'm not going to call you and say, hey, so girl, I caught you in a lie.
Right.
Absolutely not. You're going to be trying to figure out why you blocked on my social media and my cell phone. And when you show up at the church, hi, Pastor Nakia. God bless you. Would you like to have a seat in the sanctuary?
I mean, that's real. Like for me, my biggest deal breaker, and I guess I really don't have too many when it comes down to like friendships outside of like talking to me crazy or coming for me, calling me out my name. I think for me it's a huge one. Don't call me out my name. Like I cannot stand that as well. However,
but is that a deal breaker?
No, I was going to say, however, that's a boundary, not necessarily a deal breaker. So I think my only real deal breaker for me is definitely going to be being cheated on, and somebody putting their hands on me. Those are like the two things that I don't have any further conversation for you. Like I will forgive you, go your way, I'm going to go my way, and we're going to just keep it moving, from that point. How do you think people necessarily feel?
Oh, sorry. Crystal just said Kiki shows up if you lie to her.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Pretty
God.
much. How do you think you can help somebody move forward? Let's say that their deal breaker was someone lying to them or someone cheating on them, or disrespecting them, and they love that person. That person was a part of their life. How to be able to let that go and move on and be okay with it.
Why am I letting it go if it's my deal breaker? Like, I guess I need that to make sense.
Let the relationship go is what I'm saying.
Because my deal breaker has been violated. I'm done. I'm good. I will love you.
How do we help the person heal through that though?
Oh, I'm gonna be healed. Seriously, like I mean, we're over investing in stuff. Like the reality is like if this relationship mattered to you as much as it did to me, you would have honored this, right? You simply could have just told me the truth. And 90% of the time, it's something super simple. It's not even a big deal. It's something that had you not lied about, we could have simply worked through, got past, and been fine. So my healing comes because I pray all day. So my healing comes that, Lord, look, I get him to you, I get that lie to you, and I'm done. I've done packed my bags and moved on. So God, I pray that they heal too.
You know what? I think that you should be all right. To her point, I think that you should just be all right. That like that you shouldn't have guilt because someone violated your deal breaker. Somebody violated your boundary, and your deal breaker. So although now I voiced to you my deal breaker, and you're gonna try me anyway. So let me help you. It's all right. So now you're cut off, right? And it's important not to feel guilt. Because some people will get, especially narcissistic people, will guilt you, and you need to be okay that if you have a deal breaker and it's truly your deal breaker, you need to. I want you to matter enough to you to know that it's okay. That okay, the deal is broken. It's not your fault. You might feel bad because the covenant is done, but be okay with your decision to move on because that was broken.
Right. And I think we have to look at it as deal breaker though, right? So we're not talking about a boundary. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if I tell you like, hey, this is a deal breaker for me. Deal breaker for me is lying. Why? Because that means I'm not safe. One of the things that I require in relationship is safety. I need to have the ability to be myself around you, trust that we are good, that this isn't going to be manipulated, handled any way different. And lying says to me that you don't honor that. So if in relationship we agree to this and then you dishonor it, that says to me that there's no value that you have in the relationship. Because you're okay.
I mean, there's still gonna be hurt with it. It could still be some type of hurt or some type of feelings and emotion that are tied to that person, depending on who they were in your life. Clearly, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, my husband, and he steps out on me and cheats, that is my deal breaker. Am I going to hurt from my marriage being over? Yes. Am I going to feel all types of emotions with that? Yes. So that's what I'm talking about. How do we get that person to really heal? And I think something that Chanel said that was so important is definitely to be okay with that. Because not only like you showed them, no, I told you this was what I was going through. I told you that this is my deal breaker and you still did it. So your lack of respect for how I feel or what I think or what I need to keep this thing going has now been broken. I think a lot of times to be able to really move forward from that is going to be prayer. That's definitely my go-to. Like when I'm hurting, I want to just go in prayer because I don't want my emotions to take over. And next thing I know, I'm like trying to tear your head off. Like I'm not trying to do that. So the best thing for me is to retreat and go ahead and go into my prayer. That is my safe space. I think that it's also in prayer to not in prayer. I think it's also important to communicate. Like, hey, this is what you've done. He's like, yeah, no. Okay, that's me. That's how Shay operates. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to let you know and explain to you, this has been violated. This is why I'm moving the way that I'm now moving. And I don't really care how you feel about it because again, it was a deal breaker, not just a boundary.
No, but it's, now that I can't agree with though, because normally the reason you have the conversation is because you do care. You want them to give you reason or cause. You want them to have something to say, to at least say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or maybe I didn't mean to do it. That's why you would have the conversation. What's the point of me sitting down having a conversation with you to tell you what you've done? You know what you have done. I don't need.
Right, but I also want to know the severity of that.
That's why I'm not a real believer of closure. Like closure in relationships, like closure, sisterhood, brother,
you don't need it.
Relationships, stuff like that. Because really, so we hurting and we got all this what if and this should have done and this should have been like that. I need closure. No, because the truth of the matter is there's something on the inside. There's still a magnet on the inside of you that's still drawn to that person.
Yeah.
Enough to, you know what I mean? Like to me, if you're gonna sever a thing, then it's severed, then you move on.
And so, and again, I'm
not
different.
Moving on to, not
I was going to say, for me, I'm definitely going to have that final. It's not about closure. It's about just me having that final conversation. Like
I own Nakia.
Okay.
I couldn't do that because that does say, because it then gives you the ability to make an appeal to my heart. If I love you and now we're going to sit down and I say, hey, you lied to me. It was devastating. This is my boundary or this was my deal breaker and you violated that deal breaker. And so once they make an appeal, because I love them, now I'm impacted because they're saying they're sorry. They didn't mean to do it. They thought I knew, blah, 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 blah. unfortunately for me, the only way that works for me is to just cut ties, because otherwise that means I'm going in, I'm opening my heart back up to hear what you have to say, which says that I want to know that you really didn't mean to do this to me. Please tell me something that's gonna make me believe that this ain't what you was doing.
See, no, I don't even care about that part of it. I'm not looking for that answer. I'm not looking for the apology, because really and truly the forgiveness and at the end of the day is for you, not for the other person. So no matter what they say, if it was a deal breaker for me, it's a deal breaker regardless of what you have to come back and say. But again, for me, it's not even about closure. It's just, I need to let you know how this thing has impacted me, because I can tell you that from past relationships, things that I have done to hurt someone else, for me to know the impact that I had on them will prevent me from doing it in the future. So that's just how I personally operate. Like, I don't do that whole cheating. I was married before we were separated. I went out and dated other people. That was still cheating because I was still legally married. However, I understood when he began to express to me how hurt he was, that's when it was like cheating definitely became a deal breaker for me, when it came down to that. So if you do feel guilt or severing the tie, even if it was the right thing to do, how do you deal with that? You're going to feel even if you feel guilt for severing the tie, that may happen because of your connection with them. If you love that person and that person has hurt you, where now you have to let that relationship go, you may feel guilty. But again, like Chanel said, you have to at some point put you first. It became a deal breaker for a reason. And when that person didn't respect you enough to do that, you have to know that you're okay within yourself to say, I'm more important.
You matter.
That part right there.
Okay, so so she's asking how to deal with it though. And so what I would say is work through, making sure that you have now made yourself a priority. Because the guilt normally comes because you're always putting other people in front of you. Mm-hmm. So make sure that every day it's a reminder, whether that's affirmations that you have, whether that's just saying, not only do I matter to me. I'm more than enough to me. So even if I don't matter to others, I matter to me. Mm-hmm. And so that's the only way I really can say that, like, you can work through your own guilt, because severing a tie with somebody who you might think needs you, or because you love them and you felt obligated and all of that other stuff, you will carry guilt, especially if you feel like you were a support for them, a help for them. So what you would have to do for you is literally be the reminder that, guess what? I also matter though.
That's right.
I also should be just as important to the next person as they are to me. And so you'll have to literally remind yourself, because that's how we get in those cycles of like being abused, because we normally don't operate in I matter. I am important. We normally are trying to make it work for the other person. So the guilt normally comes because you felt responsible or obligated to that person. There was something that you felt like they needed that you had. That's normally where the guilt comes from, is because I feel like my friend needed me or my sister needed me. And because I'm no longer there, then she'll be exposed to hurt, or I won't be there to defend her, all of that other stuff, not realizing. So who now protects you? Right. Who now defends you? Who stands up for you?
Right. I think that ties into like false responsibility. I think we take on stuff that we shouldn't. So people keep giving you our stuff. Here, take this, take this, take this, and take this. And like, so they hands free and you got all their stuff. And so when they go home and they go to sleep, or they get off the phone with you and they go to sleep, they don't have no guilt. They ain't got no weight. Why? Because you got it all. Right. And the minute you say, here go your stuff back, I don't want this stuff, and then they try to guilt you, that's their responsibility. Don't take on something that does not belong to you. I think a part of that, like not dealing with like the deal breakers and stuff like that, not speaking up about it, is how we end up in toxic relationships, whether it is toxic sisterhoods, brotherhoods, some with ministry leaders, whatever, romantic relationships. When you don't speak up about those deal breakers, and you just remain silent, you stay because you love them, oh, but you become so comfortable with them being there. You become so comfortable with their bad behaviors and the things that offend you that you love them so much. It's like, okay, forget me for a minute. And don't get me wrong, we should be selfless and loving, but the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. You have to love you enough. So I feel like, we got to be careful. And it is, and I wanted to just voice that it's really important that we do deal with deal breakers. I'm gonna throw boundaries in too, but definitely deal with the deal breakers so that it doesn't continue. Boundaries is one thing, but the deal breakers truly is something else. If people have violated deal breakers, cut it, sever it. And I know it's easy. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but do it scared, do it uncomfortable, do it insecurely, do it if you don't know what you're gonna do beyond it. Because you do matter.
We teach people how we want to be treated, right? So you allow somebody to break your deal breaker, or even in that, and then you stay. You really just told them that's not really a deal breaker. And then you start beating yourself up because you stayed in that situation. Like Chanel said, it becomes toxic. Then you have depression. Then you have anxiety because you really want to you really want to get out of that situation, or you need to get out, as well. And so a lot of other things begin to pile themselves right on top of that as well.
I think one more thing before you start talking to Kid, because I know it's going to be real good. So I just want to just throw this in there real fast. Look, I saw her mounting up. But another thing is, stop making excuses for people. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make no excuse for it. Because like for me, it was, so I was in a toxic relationship, right? And so I kept making excuses. I kept saying, today is going to be the day that I say it. And then when that day come, something in their life come up real tragic. And I'll be like, dang, well, now I can't say nothing. But every time I went to go and actually deal with stuff, something tragic happened that made me say, you know what, let me put my feelings to the side and I'll just, take them on and keep loving them. Nope. At some point I had to matter. And at some point you got to matter. Stop making excuses for people. Otherwise you're going to stay in that same toxic thing. So go ahead, Coach, Pastor, Prophet. Nakia.
I want to address two things. First, Victoria said a little bit earlier, letting someone know will cause you great bodily harm sometimes. Only reason I want to address that is because every scenario is different, right? And I know, like Kashay was saying, she wanted to have the conversation. Sometimes, though, you can go in and have those conversations, and depending on the person, if they show that they don't care, that's just even further injury. I've sat down, I've had conversations even with my dad, and there have been moments where I felt like, wow, I could have just kept that to myself, right? Not necessarily over a deal breaker, but just in having conversation. And so if I'm going in about something that's a deal breaker that you have already violated and we were in covenant and in agreement about, and so you showing me that you don't care is just going to further injure me. So I do think that we still should be selective and what we go to bat for. Like, is it really important to have this final conversation? If so, if your answer is yes, have that conversation. However, if it's something that you can do without it, because the reality is you set the deal breaker for a reason. It was something that you need, something that you require. So stand by that for yourself. Stand up for yourself at some point. The other thing is, I think we often say, you show people how to treat you. I personally don't agree with that, because I don't think we would ever teach people to treat us poorly, like in real life. Like, I don't think that that's ever something that I would want people to do. And oftentimes the reason that we stick it out and stay is because our heart says, I love them. I want them to love me back. It's not because I want you to treat me poorly. It's not even that I'm not valuing myself. It's just that I don't understand what it is that's causing you to not love me the way you love everybody else. And that's normally what, especially for girls, that's normally what we're trying to evaluate. So you'll love that girl, you'll love that woman, you'll love this person, but you won't do that for me. And so normally that's why we are still around asking those questions. But I don't believe that literally I'm going to teach you to treat me poorly.
No, I wasn't saying.
I think that no. And I'm not just saying it to you, Shay. I'm saying that's something that people say all the time. Like, it's one of those cliches that people say all the time. Like, you show people how to treat you. You teach people how to handle you. Whatever you accept is what the reality is we've all accepted something possibly that we did not deserve, or even that we didn't necessarily want. Not necessarily because I didn't think I deserved better, but some of it is because I love you and I hope that you eventually change and evolve to see that there is value in this relationship. There's value in this covenant. There's value in this friendship.
Yeah. Even with that though, I still feel like if somebody starts cursing at me and I know I don't want to be cursed at, it's up to me to have that conversation with them. So that way they know that that's my limitation. Like, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable or whatever it is. So I think that it's still important, even with the deal breaker or a boundary or just something that you just don't like. It may not even be a boundary. It may not be a deal breaker. It just may be that thing that causes you to be like, let me pull back just a little bit. Then it's okay to have a conversation. I'm all about like, let's clear the air. Let's get it out. Let's figure it out. Like, if we still got to go our separate ways, fine. But if not, like, what's going on? Let's have this conversation. Let's talk about that thing. So I know it's getting to that time. Okay. Now it's time to say goodbye. MIC. We'll see you real soon. No, I'm just kidding.
That is funny.
My last thoughts before we go home, or, you know, as we wrap up, would just be to everybody at home, know the difference first between deal breakers and boundaries. Because boundaries, like my husband said earlier, boundaries do change. We change them all the time. Deal breakers are, for me, like I said, my deal breaker has been the same. It remains the same because it's something that I just don't feel like I deserve at all. Like, I think I am very flexible. I am giving. I'm understanding. So you ain't got to lie. And that's just my deal breaker. But I think if you have a deal breaker, that you should stand by it. Don't retract because you feel like that means that somebody is going to leave, but stand by your deal breaker. Be firm. Make sure it's what you want your deal breaker to be, though. Don't just create something and then not stand by it. But your deal breaker, let it be a deal breaker, but be clear about boundaries and deal breakers, because you'll say something is a deal breaker when really it's just a boundary. You know what I'm saying? So be clear about what it is that you need in your life. Carrying guilt is a super easy thing, but I would just challenge you to understand that you matter. And even if you don't necessarily know that you matter to yourself, you matter to God. And because you matter to God, you should challenge yourself to literally have relationship and intimacy with him. So that way you can develop that strong heart of, I matter. If I don't matter to myself, I matter to God. And so because I matter, then I'm going to stand firm on what he really is requiring of me. So
that was great. I mean, I really don't have anything to add to that. Clearly, we thank everybody for tuning in. I know Chanel's going to have final words, but I want to thank everybody for just joining us tonight, because you could have been anywhere else. We appreciate it. If we have been a blessing, we ask that you go ahead and donate to Cash App Keeping It Classy 2021. We do ask that you connect with us. Chanel being a coach. Nakia being a coach. You know, buy Chanel's book, buy Nakia's book. Mine will be out shortly. Like, we are doing so many great things. We thank you truly from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in with us every week. We ask that you join us again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Chanel, you have any final thoughts?
My final thought is be mindful. I think that be mindful of what your deal breakers are, because we don't want to be shallow in our deal breakers either, because the truth is we are all fallible. We all have frailties. So maybe just add a little patience to it. Don't be a hothead like I was, but make sure that you are loved, are you exuding love, and that you're being loved. And if your deal breaker is something, make sure that it's something that's not showing love. If they're not loving you, then definitely, then you just keep it moving without any regrets, and just know that you matter. And don't be guilty. Don't allow anybody to guilt you over your deal breaker. The one thing that got me through and over my persons who gave me, who were the deal breakers, was I looked in the mirror every day and I said, you matter. And the more I did that, the stronger I got. And the more I loved me, and the more I loved my own company. And it got to the point to really, I didn't want to be bothered with people. That's kind of, but, after I came out the bliss of me, I was okay. So I would just say, be encouraged. Do your affirmations. I know that Coach Key is really big on affirmations. Like she does those all the time, and I know, like, so the coaches, get you a coach if you need a coach. They're great to have if you need somebody to help get you through it, or a counselor or whatever, because sometimes inner hurts and deep hurts behind deal breakers are much. But then, my last thing is just to reach out to the Father, that when you're hurt, but you need to get out, then He will cover you and He will protect you. Yeah. That's my last words, and I love you guys.
Yeah, and again, I know I said that everybody said.
Oh yeah, one more. Oh yeah,
your deal breaker is your deal breaker. You don't have to jump on someone else's bandwagon just because that is their deal breaker. That may not work for you. What works for you is for you. Your deal breaker is your deal breaker. So absolutely. This has been Keeping It Classy. Again, tune in again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. and feel free to go back to all of our social media platforms and watch any of the replays if you've missed any of the shows. We love you guys.
Bye. Love you.